This is Frontline on Air. Major stories on the go.
1 billion rising again. West Bengal protests show gender justice can't exist in a society plagued by corruption, authoritarianism, fundamentalism and undemocratic practices. Mamata Banerjee.
Voice by Rakesh Sharma, Timber Media.
Women in Metyapurus do not often take to the streets to protest the culture of rape. Yet, they did this time in large numbers. Said Noor Mahwish, a criminal lawyer and activist who joined Kolkata's Reclaim the Night protest from Metyapurus in Garden Reach, a low-income dock area on the banks of the Hooghly. Women's safety is not a political tool, it is a fundamental right, she told Frontline. We will fight anyone, regardless of party, who fails to protect it. The fact that a woman doctor could be raped, brutalized and murdered in her own workplace, the state-run RG Kar hospital, and that the state subsequently seemed to take steps to protect the culprits and cover up the crime, have sent a chilling message to the women of Bengal. Ironically, India's only state today with a woman chief minister. Even as women in the state and elsewhere are up in arms, demanding equal rights, justice and dignity in a powerful wave that goes far beyond the politics of protest that Mamata has always known how to harness, the Chief Minister herself led a rally on August 16th using her party's electoral war cry, Khela Hobe, Game On, showing perhaps how out of touch she is with the reality. The irony was not lost on the people of Bengal, where Mamata, who was first sworn in as Chief Minister in 2011, is also Health Minister and Home Minister. During her protest march, Mamata demanded justice for the doctor who was raped and murdered. Whom exactly was Mamata demanding justice from? On August 13, the Central Bureau of Investigation, CBI, took over the case following an order from the Calcutta High Court. Mamata, who had previously issued her police force with a deadline to solve the case, threatening to otherwise transfer it to the central agency, welcomed the court's decision. Prateek, co-founder of the independent Bengali website nagorik.net, said, quote, "This move works well for her, as it helps her shake off any accountability." Unquote. What people noticed, however, was that instead of immediately acknowledging the gravity of the crime, supporting the victim's parents, or acknowledging accountability for the failure of the hospital administration and the public health machinery, Mamata resorted to what has become her usual line of defense. First trivializing the crime, then offering a compensation of 10 lakh rupees to the victim's parents, cracking down on dissenters, issuing summons to online protesters, and hastily issuing a regressive order against women working at night. Amidst all the assertions and institutional cover-ups, Mamata remained in denial and continued to leverage her street fighter cult and project herself as a victim of witch hunt hatched by the Bamram, left BJP. Unfortunately, this time, Bangla Nijer Meye Ke Chai, Bengal Wants Her Own Daughter, Trinamool's 2021 campaign song, has hit the wrong note. Now, Bengal is demanding answers from her own daughter. Rape as a form of systemic oppression. Rape is not new in Bengal, and indeed not in India, where it is a routine form of systemic oppression. As per national statistics, there is a rape every 16 minutes in India. Yet, incidents of rape hardly trigger any protest. In Bengal too, during Mamata's own reign of Ma Mati Manush, Mother, Land, People, protests against rape have hardly moved beyond splintered local voices. Wider protests have been suppressed. One harks back to 2012, when Mamata dismissed the Park Street rape victim Suzette Jordan's gang rape as a Shajano Ghotona, fabricated incident, aimed at tainting her new government. The then Sports Minister of Bengal questioned a single mother's presence in a nightclub. Another Trinamool leader, Kakoli Ghosh Toshtidar, said that what happened was not rape, but a transaction between a sex worker and her client that went wrong. The very next year, Addressing a gathering in Kamduni Barashat, where women were demanding justice for the brutal rape and murder of a local girl, Mamata shouted, "Keep quiet! Shut up! You're all CPM supporters." In 2022, after a 14-year-old girl was gang-raped in Hoshkhali in Nadia district of West Bengal, Mamata said, quote, "This story they are showing that a minor has died due to rape, will you call it rape? Was she pregnant or had a love affair? Have they, media, inquired? I've asked the police. They have made arrests. I was told the girl had an affair with the boy." Unquote. Ultimately, Trinamool Panchayat leaders were arrested for the crime. Unravelling the invisible threads that connect the landmark rape cases during Mamata's reign, one of the reclaim slogans read, "Park Street theke Kamduni, sajano ghotonar hisheb bhari. Mukhyamantri jobab dao, noile lorai toiri hoyo." From Park Street to Kamduni, the weight of fabricated incidents is getting heavier. CM, you must answer us, or be prepared to fight. Breaking the silence of the desensitized. Now it is 2024, and clearly nothing has changed as far as Mamata and the Trinamool are concerned. But the public mood has changed. Tota, an auxiliary midwifery nurse, ANM, and frontline healthcare worker in Jhargram, Paschim Medinipur, said, quote, "This crime shook us. Women and men, young and old, including school students, joined the protest, united by a shared sense of shock and anger. It is as if a long-standing rot has come out in the open." Unquote. According to Archie Roy, a queer visual artist, queer rights activist, and one of the reclaim organizers and protesters, the crime directly attacked the soft spot of middle-class aspirations, and this explains the widespread anger. A doctor is still looked up to as a respectable figure, despite the rising instances of violence against them. Hence, perhaps the thought that this could happen to an on-duty doctor inside the premises of a government hospital has hit the public imagination, breaking the silence of people who seem to have become oddly desensitized to violence against women in their state. West Bengal-based Titash Dotto, theatre practitioner and gender rights activist who joined the reclaim protest at Birati, a neighborhood in North 24 Parganas, agreed, adding that unfortunately it was also because the victim fit the definition of a good girl, and so it was as if the chief minister, the state, the system and society ran out of victim-shaming tropes. What initially started as a doctor-led and student-led protest spread like wildfire, with citizens across social strata and age profiles, nurses and ASHA or accredited social health activist workers, elderly women, domestic helps, sex workers, football fans, IT sector employees and so on, sharing the outrage. On the night of August 14th, the eve of India's 78th Independence Day, as the clock struck 11, women across Kolkata took to the streets, reclaiming the night that has long been a tool of patriarchal oppression. Initially planned at 3 sites, Jadavpur, Academy of Fine Arts and College Street, the march soon spread across the city, with people joining it spontaneously. Although sparked by the rape and murder, Girls Reclaim the Night, Mera Raat Dokhol Koro protest soon transcended the singular tragedy and has since evolved into a powerful statement against systemic gender violence, echoed not just in Bengal, but also countrywide. On August 25th, the Reclaim the Night protest, which morphed into Reclaim Rights, further broadened its scope to include 3 clauses, 3 demands. Dofa 3, Dabi 3, Mukhyamantri Jobab Din. 3 clauses, 3 demands, CM give answers. A different version of this slogan too began to do the rounds. Dofa 1, Dabi 1, Mukhyamantrir Podotyag. 1 clause, 1 demand, CM must resign. The slogan seems to have sprung from the one raised during the recent riots in Bangladesh that culminated in the ouster of Sheikh Hasina. Ek dofa, ek dabi, Hoshina tui kobe jabi. 1 clause, 1 demand, when will you go, Hasina? According to Sabir Ahmed, National Research Coordinator at Nobel laureate Amartya Sen's Pratiji India Trust, if one looks at the historical context of protest in Bengal, the Bangladesh inspiration could be sensed. Jhelum, a researcher and one of the Reclaim organizers, said that a lot of the linguistic flavor of Reclaim's sloganeering has indeed been impacted by the Bangladesh protest. The August 25th Citizens' March had three other broader demands: elimination of the syndicate Raj from Bengal's public health system, infrastructural reforms in public spaces, including 24/7 public toilets and 24/7 free or cheap public transport for women and trans persons, and rejection of control and surveillance of women, queer and trans persons in workplaces while seeking equal dignity for all. Normalizing crimes against underprivileged women. On the very night, August 14, that women occupied the streets across West Bengal to reclaim their rights, a young Adivasi woman was brutally raped and killed in Shaktigarh in Bardhaman district. Mahvish said, quote, "We are part of a system where a Muslim, Dalit, Adivasi or marginalized woman struggles even to get an FIR lodged." Unquote. Crimes against less privileged women are often normalized, rarely ever resulting in any mass outcry. The Reclaim's Charter of Clauses includes the demand for an FIR, First Information Report, in the Shaktigarh case. The depth of the protest is also seen in the fact that the demands have been framed through the lens of breaking the nexus between the state, patriarchy, and rape culture. It shows the understanding that gender justice cannot be achieved in isolation or in a society dominated by corruption, authoritarianism, religious fundamentalism, party politics, and undemocratic practices. Archie Roy said, quote, "This is the right time to talk about gender justice through the critical lens of queer-trans intersectional politics. Queer feminist politics rejects caste oppression and Hindu Brahminical patriarchy and offers a deeper and rigorous scrutiny of structural inequalities." Unquote. This becomes pertinent because in India, institutional power is overwhelmingly held by Hindu, able-bodied, cis-het males whose joint privilege often limits women's movements. In the backdrop of Mamata and her party's allegations that the protests have been hijacked by the right and left-wing parties which form the Trinamool's traditional opposition, when a rally was called by so-called students on August 27, Reclaim.our.rights posted on social media, quote, "We've learned that this call is given by those very forces who had previously felicitated the rapists of Bilkis Bano, who marched with the national flag in support of Kathua Unnao. We therefore urge people to oust forces like RSS, BJP, who have actively nurtured rape culture in this country and been complicit in keeping the system in place, and isolate them from this movement." Unquote. Priyadarshini Chitrangada, a gender sexual rights activist and one of the Reclaim organizers, pointed out that it was important to question the system and bring structural changes rather than fall prey to any one political party's agenda, as all parties have vested interests. She said, quote, "Demanding resignation is the easier way out. Through Reclaim, we are demanding long-term systemic reforms." Unquote. This sentiment was echoed by another Reclaim organizer, Sudeshna Dattagupta, who said that the protests have been demanding drishtantomulok shasti, exemplary punishment, and not capital punishment, as the latter is hardly ever a deterrent. Governments everywhere perpetrate rape. According to Pratik, one reason why people of Bengal have not raised their voice earlier, whether against gender-based violence or against the numerous scams in their state, could be that a certain section of Bengal wanted to be seen as a proponent of a secular liberal brand of politics and therefore feared that critiquing the Trinamool would empower the BJP and its right-wing ideological mentor, the RSS. This fear seemed to have created a sort of quasi-tolerance for the Trinamool among the public. Pratik said, quote, "It created a long-term layer of impunity for the Trinamool, which was further emboldened by the 2024 Lok Sabha poll verdict." Unquote. In 1990, when the Bontala incident, which involved the gang rape of 3 women returning home at 11 p.m., hit the headlines, the then West Bengal Chief Minister Jyoti Basu had said, "Eshop to hoi theke." Such things keep happening. In response, it was Mamata, then an opposition leader, who had taken to the streets in protest, only to be dragged off by the hair by the Kolkata police. As the city's streets erupt in protest again, it is a reminder of how governments everywhere perpetrate rape, and only the colour of power changes. Sample this. Trinamool spokesperson Kunal Ghosh was quoted as saying, "Those who wish to refrain from availing of Lakshmi Bhandar or Lokhir Bhandar, under which scheme women beneficiaries aged 25 to 60 receive 1,000 rupees each month directly in their bank accounts. If they belong to SC/ST groups, they get 1,200 rupees. Or any other scheme of the state government can do so using forms we will provide. Instead of posing as distorted revolutionaries on Facebook, such people can fill in these forms." Unquote. As Ahmed said, the idea that any woman who avails of a scheme run by the state government cannot protest or exercise her freedom of speech is outrageous and demeaning and against the very essence of democracy. Ghosh's colleague, the Trinamool minister Udayan Guha, threatened to break the fingers of those accusing Mamata. So much for Mamata's electoral politics, where she has time and again positioned herself and her government as women-friendly, centred around women-centric schemes and working for women's empowerment. Is it all optics then, without any real representation, equality and dignity for Bengal's women? How does Mamata crack the whip on the same women who constituted her significant voter base and gave her rich electoral dividends only a few months ago? Is she taking her women voters for granted? Prateek said, quote, "Mamata's image, hitherto seen as separate and distinct from that of her party, has taken a hit for the first time." Unquote. What Bengal is witnessing now is the cumulative anger of the people, with even Trinamool sympathizers not shying away from the protests. On August 27th, a massive march was taken towards Nobonna, the seat of the Bengal Secretariat, which was held at bay by the police. As Kolkata continues to boil, Mamata Banerjee and her government are looking at an uncertain political future. If a change does occur, what will it really mean for Bengal's women and people from disadvantaged sections?
Sanhati Banerjee is an independent journalist and content consultant.
This is Frontline on Air. Major stories on the go.